Hey YouTube, this is Primetime Pokemon. In this video, I'll be doing some Pokemon TCG online gameplay. I'll be battling with the 6th place deck from the Virginia Regional Championships in Roanoke. I actually used this exact deck to place second at a recent league challenge. Lost March is one of my favorite deck archetypes right now, and I think it will continue to do very well in future tournaments. So now I'll head on over to the Pokemon TCG Online, give the general strategy for the deck as well as the deck checklist, and then get into battling. Here's a look at the deck checklist that I'll be using for this video. General strategy for Lost March is to get as many Pokemon into the Lost Zone as possible. You do that by using Lost Splendor, and then the abilities on both Trumbeak, and then Skip Bloom. Once you have a significant amount of Pokemon in the Lost Zone, you can do major damage every single turn with Jumpluff. For only 1 grass energy, it does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon you have in the Lost Zone. Or with Natu, which can do the same amount of damage for 2 energy cards or 1 double colorless energy. So some quick attackers in this deck, and quick Pokemon to set up, mainly because of Skip Bloom's ability. The primary way to get some of these Pokemon set up would be to use Great Ball, and then use Professor Elm's Lecture, which allows you to go and get both Hoppip and Skip Bloom. As far as the energy cards go in this deck, 3 grass energy, 4 double colorless, and then 1 super boost energy. This is mainly to use against Shuckle GX. So let's head on over to Versus and see what's out there. I have had some good luck with this deck on the online TCG so far. At one time, I think I won 14 games in a row. I'm seeing lots of Blacephalon GX Naganadel decks out there right now. That is one of the best decks in the format. And then, of course, anything with Zoroark GX is very good. My opponent is calling the coin flip. I did lose the coin flip. Potentially, I could get Natu in a double colorless in the active and do some damage right away. Looks like I'll have to start the game with Hoppip. Have Trumbeak in hand to move to the Lost Zone. And Cynthia to get new cards into my hand. Marshadow, like I use in this deck, is very popular. So who knows if I will even maintain this hand when it comes to my turn. Just Hoppip, no bench Pokemon. So far, it looks to be a Swampert deck. Swampert Gardevoir GX, Alola Ninetales GX deck is pretty good. I've actually done an online TCG gameplay video of that deck. They have Brooklet Hill. They can go and get a water or a fighting type Pokemon, a basic one. Swampert has Power Draw. Now this is a Swampert Empoleon deck. Probably utilizes Cynthia. Empoleon can do 200 damage per turn if you used Cynthia that turn, I believe. Nope, that would be Garchomp. Empoleon is the one that does 200 damage, I think, if you have a full bench. So let's move Trumbeak to the Lost Zone. I could Marshadow Let Loose. My opponent has 5 cards. I am going to have to just use Cynthia. There's another Trumbeak. Not much so far. And if my opponent can knock out Hoppip, the game is already over. I really don't want to get rid of anything. I guess I could Lost Blender, and a Rescue Stretcher. I think I am going to do that just to get 1 more card into my hand. Another Skip Bloom, that didn't do anything for me. I can't do anything with Brooklet Hill. I can look to see what I have in my deck. So I have 3 Jumpluff. Both are Oranguru. What do I have for energy? Ooh, I prized a couple of grass energy. So I'm going to have to pass. My opponent can knock me out if they can evolve and attack, more than likely. With only 40 HP on Hoppip, that is not much. They were able to evolve into Marshtomp. Nest Ball for a basic. Move that to the bench. There's Resource Management on Oranguru. My opponent really couldn't do anything. So at least I can get Skiploom out here. Skiploom and then Jumpluff. I still need an energy card to be able to do any damage. I would need 4 Pokemon in the Lost Zone, and I do have 4, so I could knock out Mudkip here if I get a Grass Energy or the Super Boost Energy on the Cynthia. There's a Grass Energy, luckily. I could Marshadow as well. I think I want to go and get another Hoppip and put it on the bench. I could also go and get the Natu, which I might, just to have another attacker set up. So I'm going to discard the Marshadow and the Lost Blender, go and get the Natu, and then attach the double colorless energy to it. Use Lily next turn. So next turn I'll attach that double colorless, so I can knock out the Mudkip. Of course, it is already weak to grass. That actually helps me a lot in this deck. Piplup is weak to lightning. My opponent is more than likely going to attack with Empoleon and then use the other water type Pokemon, Swampert, for his power draw ability to draw cards. So they'll probably leave it on the bench. They're going to use Beacon here more than likely to get 2 Pokemon. Now if I was able to Cynthia or Lily into Marshadow, it would be useful. Empoleon and Swampert. Oranguru, that is very useful. I am going to put that on Natu, and then I can either Lily, I could Instruct as well. I'm going to save the Instruct and just Lily for 5 cards. There's a Hoppip and a couple of Great Balls. Let's see what I have. I'm going to put a Skiploom into my hand. I could have used the Trumbeak as well. Let's Great Ball again. There is a Trumbeak. Let's do that this time and move it to the Lost Zone. Ooh, yes, I can move the Cynthia of my opponents to the Lost Zone. Still didn't get that Marshadow like I was hoping for. I am going to actually retreat this and attack with Natu just because the Swampert over here will be weak to grass. Knock out the Alolan Vulpix. They probably have a rare candy in hand. That's why they went to get the Empoleon. So there's Swampert with Power Draw. Discard 1, draw 3. Hydro Pump does do a good amount of damage. If they use Aqua Patch in the deck, they can accelerate Water Energy into play. Is this a counter energy on here? Yes, it is. So they can use Total Command right now, and it does 160 damage. So it will be a little while until I can knock out the Empoleon. Right now I can do 100 damage. I can get 2 more in there. I can do 140 with the Skiploom when I move that and Hoppip to the Lost Zone. I would need 1 more to be able to get 160 damage. They do have Aqua Patch to start accelerating energy. 2 energy cards they need for Total Command. That's alright. I'll move Jumpluff to the active. Hopefully get enough Pokemon in the Lost Zone like I was mentioning. I could also Guzma up something. That is a possibility. So let's go and get the Jumpluff. I could knock out the Swampert, but my opponent has two Swamperts. They're trying to attack with Empoleon, so I think I am going to try and knock out this one. So I am going to actually get another attacker set up, Natu, and then I will use Cynthia. Unfortunately, was not able to get anything that I could move to the Lost Zone. 3 Trumbeak there. I'm not exactly sure if I have another one in deck. I can check, and I do. So I'm going to use Ultra Ball to go and get the Trumbeak. I can use Rescue Stretcher to get some of those Pokemon back if I'd like. Not Skiploom, Trumbeak. So I will go like this, move it to the Lost Zone. If my math is correct, I believe I can now knock out the Empoleon. Let's see. There's 8 there, so it's 160. I'll probably use the Rescue Stretcher as well. Get back the Tapu Lele, the Jumpluff, and then the Marshadow. So there's the Jumpluff, Tapu Lele, Marshadow. And then I can instruct for 1. Maybe I'll get a Hoppip. Was able to get a Lily, which will be useful for next turn. Now I can knock out the Empoleon. It really doesn't matter at this point if I was to retreat that Jumpluff and attack with Natu. My opponent's not going to try and attack with the Swampert. Plus I have enough Pokemon in the Lost Zone that I will knock out either Pokemon in one attack. My opponent may try and get Oranguru set up for resource management. This Tapu Koko may hurt. 20 damage to each. It can knock out Natu and Hoppip pretty quickly. Plus Jumpluff is weak to lightning type Pokemon. I would think with all those cards in my opponent's hand they would have a rare candy unless they've used 4 already. They've only used 1. They're going to shuffle those cards back into their deck and get 6 new cards. Only 3 more prizes left to take. So there's another evolution, a Prinplup. I would like to knock out one of these Prinplups. What can they do? 20 damage, that paralysis is going to hurt. I am not paralyzed, otherwise I would have used Guzma. Not too big of a deal there, so I am going to attach the Super Boost Energy. I am going to retreat the Jumpluff into the Natu. And then I'm going to Lily. So let's retreat this for the Natu, and then Lily. And that's really all I can do. I'll just attack here and knock out the Prinplup. If my opponent has a double colorless, that's going to hurt a little bit. But that is another reason why I moved Jumpluff to the bench. So they are going to try and get an Empoleon with Timer Ball. Should be able to get one. They did. So they can knock out the Natu, but then I can go and knock out the Empoleon. I have 3 attackers set up. So as long as my opponent doesn't take 2 prize cards and I only take 1, and the only way they would be able to do that would be if I put Tapu Lele out there. I think I should be the winner of this matchup. Because I can Guzma here, or they're going to retreat the Tapu Koko for free and just knock out the Natu. What does my opponent have in the future? They don't have anything set up. I guess they could try and set up the Tapu Koko. So I'm going to move the Jumpluff without the damage on it into the active. I could Marshadow, but then my opponent can power draw twice. I really do not have much. I am going to try and use Professor Elm's Lecture Do I have any Hoppip left? 2. And then if I am going to Marshadow, I'm just going to hold off on that. So I'll have a full bench. There's 1. There's 2. And I am going to Marshadow just to limit the size of my opponent's hand. I'm set up on this side fairly well. So there's a Great Ball, and there's a Professor Elm's Lecture. I'm set up pretty well next turn as well. So let's Lost March knock out the Empoleon. I just need to take one more prize card. There's another Net Ball. I don't think my opponent can knock out more than one Pokemon at once. It couldn't even knock out Jumpluff with Flying Flip. They're going to try and get another Piplup set up and then into Empoleon. But if my opponent does nothing here, the game is over. The game's pretty much over regardless, unless they somehow get Oranguru into the active, which they've already used Cynthia, so that will not happen. My opponent can easily scoop right now. If weakness applied to bench Pokemon, then they can knock out both Hoppip as well as the Jumpluff, but that is not the case. I think they're trying to get a rare candy into an Empoleon. It doesn't matter either way. That is what I like about Lost March, is that once you have a certain number of Pokemon in the Lost Zone, you cannot do any less damage than that when attacking. So my opponent did scoop. They knew the game was over. Let's play one more here, unless it goes by quick, and then we can play 2 more. So there's a look at what? An Empoleon Swampert deck. The game took a little bit longer just because neither player had the GX cards. So let's go again. This would be a Fighting Darkness Colorless Fire. Could be a Lycanroc GX deck since Lycanroc is on the coin. My opponent is going first. There's a Natu and a Trumbeak. And my opponent used a mulligan there, so I'll get an additional card. At least one. So Lycanroc, Weavile, and Lycanroc is weak to Grass-type Pokemon, so I want to get my Jumpluff set up. Zoroark GX deck as well. More than likely, that is the primary attacker. Professor Kukui usually to increase the amount of damage that Zoroark GX can do. This is resistant to Psychic. I need to get some bench Pokemon, and I will with the Professor Elm's Lecture. Because more than likely, my opponent is going to knock out the Natu. So I am going to use Professor Elm's Lecture and get 3 Hoppip onto the bench. I have 1 Skiploom on my side already in my hand, and then I can use Cynthia to potentially get more. Plus I have a Grass Energy. Let's see, I have 4 Jumpluff. What do I have for energy? No Grass Energy, but I do have 2 of the 3 Grass Energy in the deck in my hand, plus the Super Boost. I don't know if my opponent would use Marshadow in this deck. Doesn't make any sense to attach any energy, so I'll end my turn there. If my opponent can evolve into Zoroark GX, they can knock out Natu, not a problem. I actually would like that. That way I wouldn't have to retreat Natu in any way, since I don't have a double colorless energy. 1 Pokemon in the Lost Zone so far. We'll get at least 2 more next turn. There's an Ultra Ball, probably for a Zoroark GX, and then they can use the trade ability on it to get a couple of more cards into their hand. They had 2 Ultra Balls they discarded, so they had 3 in their hand. So there's Zoroark GX, trade the ability on it, discard 1 from your hand, draw 2. Riotous Beating can do 20 damage times the number of, for each of your Pokemon in play, so it can do a maximum of 120. There's a Ditto Prism Star on the bench. Is this a unit energy here? They can easily knock out the Natu. I would need a lot of Pokemon in the Lost Zone to be able to take down Zoroark GX. And my opponent would need one more Pokemon in play to be able to knock out Jumpluff in one move, which wouldn't be hard to do. I'm going to attach the Super Boost energy, just because I can search out those grass energy with the net ball. Doesn't make any sense to use the Rescue Stretcher. Let's use Cynthia and hope for a couple of more Skiplooms, or a way to get Skiploom. There's one, and there's a Marshadow as well. I would need, what, 11 Pokemon in the Lost Zone to be able to knock out Zoroark in one turn. I think my best option would be to use Guzma somehow and attack one of the bench Pokemon. Of course, I've already used a supporter. I have 5 Pokemon in the Lost Zone, almost halfway to the number that I need. I think I may go and get another Hoppip or a Grass Energy. Looks to be a Grass Energy there with the net ball. I must have all 4 there. Looks to be what? 2, 3. I must have prized a Hoppip. So I think I am going to use this. So I did a misplay there. I should have not used the net ball, but that's alright. There's a Skiploom. That worked out. Go and get a Jumpluff. And we'll go and use a Great Ball potentially to go and get a Rangaroo or a Trumbeak. No valid cards. That is hard to believe. So let's just attack with Lost March and do a fair amount of damage, 140. It can knock out Zoroark GX next turn if my opponent does not use something like Max Potion or Acerola. There's a Nest Ball. Are they going to get another Zorua? Or they could get a Rangaroo or maybe Slugma. Nope, another Zorua. They're going to trade. They know with the Rockruff that I can knock it out pretty easily because it is weak to Grass-type Pokemon. There's the Devoured Field, so now they can do a fair amount of damage with Zoroark GX. What did they put on the Zorua? The Counter Gain. There's the Magcargo. They evolved it from the Ditto Prism Star. That is a pretty good combination to use. You smooth over a card that you want and then you trade for it with the ability on Zoroark GX. So I'm going to try and knock out Zoroark GX here. I do have it because I can do 120 with Natu, like so. And then I am going to Marshadow again to get some more cards into my hand. There we go. There is a Lily. Or Professor Elm's Lecture. I think I am going to use Lily. First I will use Rescue Stretcher. Move 2 Pokemon back into my deck. Natu and Jumpluff. And then use Lily. Guzma is handy. Would like to knock out that Magcargo. I could go and get a Rangaroo. I'm going to hold off on that for now. Next turn I can get a Grass Energy out there. So let's knock out the Zoroark GX. 120. There's a Grass Energy and a Marshadow. My opponent more than likely has a Zoroark GX, you would think, or a way to get one. There you go. I may just knock out that Magcargo, since I cannot knock out, now they're going to have two Zoroark GX in play. I can't knock out Zoroark GX in one turn, so I might knock out the Magcargo instead. That one hurts. Judge. So hopefully I get a Grass Energy, a Marshadow, or a Netball in hand to give me a chance at attacking. Oranguru and Lily helps a little bit. So now the Natu is going to be knocked out, but I'm trading 2 for 1 if I'm able to knock out the Zoroark. Now I would have liked to have not wasted that Netball. Have another chance at getting a Grass Energy. Another Unit Energy on this Zoroark. There's a counter. It is a Unit Energy. There's a Great Ball. Those are becoming more popular, it seems like. What are they going to do with Tapu Lele? They're going to wait until next turn to use it. So let's put out Jumpluff. It has a free retreat. I can put the Oranguru down now. I have an open bench space, 2 open spots. Like that. I could go and get a Natu potentially. Let's see what's here. I could do a Natu. I may have to. I don't have anything else out there, so I'm going to get the Natu. Put the double colorless on it. Retreat the Jumpluff and then Lily. Let me go like this. Retreat for the Natu, and then I am going to Lily. There's a Trumbeak, there's a Grass Energy, so I'm set up for next turn. If my opponent does not have another Judge. How many Pokemon do I have in the Lost Zone now? 6, 8. I need 4 more to be able to knock out, well, actually 3 more to be able to knock out the Zoroark GX. Is there any way I could do it? I need another Hoppip and then a Trumbeak. I could get a Lost Blender somehow. But I think right now I'm going to get another Trumbeak potentially into the Lost Zone. Do I have one? 2 more. 1 after this one. Of course, that same Devour Field on the top of my opponent's deck. So let's actually instruct. And there is a Lost Blender. That will be useful next turn, potentially. Probably have to just shuffle that back into my deck with Cynthia. So I'm going to get knocked out here. I have a Grass Energy in hand. So I'll be able to take 2 prize cards. We'll both be down to 2 prize cards then. And then if I can knock out a Zoroark GX, nah, that one hurts a lot there. They're going to move up the Zoroark GX, or the one, they are going to move up that one. Going to knock out the Natu. Now, I would need the 11 Pokemon in the Lost Zone. So how many would I need? 2 more. So if I was able to Cynthia for 2 Pokemon and a Lost Blender, I could get 11 total in the Lost Zone. I could knock out the Zoroark with a Jumpluff, not the Natu, because Zoroark is resistant to Psychic-type Pokemon. And with all these Marshadow on my bench, Weavile can do major damage. That's why they're getting the Sneasel out there. So this may be game over. I'm going to have to move up the Jumpluff just because it has a free retreat cost. I'm going to attach the energy. Let's Great Ball and see what's out there. There's a Marshadow again. None of these really make a difference. I'm going to actually not do anything there, and then I'm going to instruct and then Cynthia. So there's a netball. I think I'm going to have to Cynthia here. I could rescue Stretcher 1 and then send it to the lost zone. Is that still not enough? That's 1 short. That is too bad. How many Trumbeak do I have here? 3. There's a possibility. I'm going to do this. Put 1 into my hand. I'm going to get a Natu. I'm going to move it to the lost zone along with the double colorless, I believe. And then hopefully I'll get a Trumbeak here. Ooh, that is too bad. So didn't get it. I don't think I'll be able to win this one. If I would have been able to knock out the Zoroark GX right there, I could have won the game next turn because I have a Grass Energy and a Guzma in hand. But now I cannot. 50 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon that has an ability, so Weavile can do major damage. My opponent may have another Acerola. Just 1 Pokemon short into the lost zone. So there goes the Jumpluff. The Weavile here will win the game. I don't know if there's anything that I can actually do. This might be a loss for me. A little bit disappointing. The only thing I can really do would be to try and stall. I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm just going to end the game here. I'll knock out the Zoroark. I'm probably going to get a Hoppip that I needed a long time ago. Nope, I did not. But now my opponent can promote the Weavile and then knock out Jumpluff. It can do 150 damage. Let's play one more. This is going to be a longer video. 1-1 so far. So close to being able to win this time. If I would have been able to knock out the Zoroark GX last turn, I would have been ahead in prize cards. And then I would have been able to win the game. Let's do one more here. Looks like the video is about 32 minutes already. Now we're facing a very similar deck again. A Zoroark GX deck. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Zoroark GX. I like the decks that can just knock out Pokemon in one turn. Have not won the coin flip yet. Natu to start, and that's all I'm going to put out there. If I get the double colorless, I can attack right away, but I do not have any Trumbeak or anything in hand. Probably going to have to Cynthia right away, first using Netball to get a Hoppip on the bench. Because of the Zoroark on the deck box, this is more than likely Zoroark GX something. They had to start with Tapu Lele, not a good start. They're definitely taking their time. Maybe they just have a terrible hand. And that is the way it goes sometimes. It would be very interesting to see maybe some statistics on what percentage of luck and skill the Pokemon TCG is. Because of course you have to have some luck to draw into the cards you need. But there's of course skill in both deck building and strategizing on how to play the cards during the battle. Are they going to go and get another Tapu Lele maybe to get a supporter? Yep, and that's what they're doing. They have another Weavile here, so an identical deck this time around, at least similar. So I would like to not put so many Marshadow out there. That way Weavile would not be able to do any damage at all. So they almost have a full bench out there with 2 Tapu Lele. Unfortunately, a double colorless energy will knock out a Natu. So they're going for 3 Zoroark right there. No energy in play yet. There's the double colorless, so if I was able to get some Trumbeak out there, I could do some damage right away. I'm going to get Hoppip on the bench and then use Cynthia. Hopefully Cynthia into a Professor Elm's lecture for the next turn. There's a Marshadow. There's a Skiploom. I'm going to get rid of these 2 just because I do not want the abilities on the bench. I'm going to go and get another Hoppip, I believe. I will be a little bit slow on the draw support next turn. And of course, Lost March will do nothing. Next turn, if Natu is not knocked out, it will do 40 damage. Depending on what my opponent has in hand. There's a double colorless, so they can knock out the Natu. They can go and get a Zoroark GX as well. So not a very good start. I'm probably going to promote the Hoppip, evolve Jumpluff on the bench, and then Guzma up potentially the other Tapu Lele or maybe a Zoroark. Only 2 cards in my opponent's hand. There's a Natu. That doesn't do much for me. And I can go into Jumpluff there. I was talking about evolving the benched one, but I think I am going to just Guzma up. I actually might put the Natu out there. That way, if it is knocked out, it's not that big of a deal. So let's put up they have 2 cards in their hand. That is the thing. What's the retreat cost here? 1. They would need more to be able to attack with the Zoroark here. So I'm going to promote this one. And then end my turn. I really need to top deck something, otherwise I'm out of luck. With that first Ultra Ball, maybe I should have went and got the Tapu Lele GX or an Oranguru. That way I could have drawn a few more cards. Now they're going to trade. So I was betting on them not getting a double colorless and Zoroark GX. Now they may get both. And they did get both. How inconvenient there. That is terrible luck. Well, I might be out of luck here. So it was the smarter play to actually put the Natu in the active. All I can do now is use Professor Elm's lecture, go like that, and just hope that I top deck something. My opponent can do 100 damage every turn and knock out whatever I have in play. So now I think I am going to retreat into the Hoppip again, just to give myself a chance at attacking right away. Certainly disappointing. And they'll probably have Guzma as well. Guzma and a double colorless to set up one of their benched Zoroark GX and knock out the Jumpluff. They can trade twice. probably get another Zoroark GX into play, and now they have 3. I wish they would have used Judge on me, they just discarded it. Now they'll probably go and get the Weavile line set up. No, they have a Naganadel. Maybe they have Ditto Prism Star in the deck. They can shuffle through 6 cards. They just discarded that Naganadel. And now they have Lycanroc, Rockruff, Lycanroc. Plus they have the Cynthia, so their hand is just set up. They can do whatever they'd like. They're going to try and attack with the Rockruff. A little bit strange. Rockruff is weak to Grass-type Pokemon. Let's see, which one should I promote? Finally here, I have something decent. Probably the Cynthia. It's probably a little bit too late for anything really to go on. 120 is what Zoroark GX can do. Should I risk it and put Tapu Lele out there and actually attack with the Tapu Lele? I could. I might as well put the Oranguru out. I'm going to go and get another Hoppip. Save Lily for next turn. And then I'm actually going to attack with the Tapu Lele to soften up the Zoroark GX. Let's go like... Let's see, how many Pokemon do we have in the Lost Zone? 4. That does 80 damage. That doesn't do much. Same thing goes for this one. So I'm just going to retreat, put this out there, use Instruct. Rescue Stretcher and Great Ball. Rescue Stretcher is useful. I think I am going to go and get the other Hoppip. Let's do that. And then I'll use Great Ball. Maybe I'll get a Skip Bloom. There it is. And then I'll do what? 80 damage. So that's 130 that I need to do. So I would need 7 Pokemon in the Lost Zone to knock out Zoroark GX this turn. So I need 3 more. I'm going to get 2 more into the Lost Zone with Skiploom here. And then if I can Lily into 1 more, I would be able to knock it out. I would need a Grass Energy though. My opponent needs some energy on their Pokemon. If they can get Lycanroc GX into play, they can then knock out someone on my bench. But then I'd try and promote their Lycanroc GX to take 2 prize cards, knocking it out. Now potentially Zoroark GX can do 180 damage. Professor Kukui and Devoured Field would be needed. So now it can do... Oh, and there it is. Wow. There was the risk I took. I didn't think it would happen to be able to knock out the Tapu Lele. So that's 160? They still need the Choice Band? Hold on here. It does 120 plus 20 more would be 140, 150. Yeah, they need the Choice Band still. So they didn't have it. I may have it now. If I have 2 Jumpluff. Let's see, do I have at least 1 Jumpluff? I do have both. How many energy do I have? I have plenty of energy as well. So there's that. I'm going to use Instruct first. There's an energy. That's nice. So I'm going to attach to, it doesn't really matter which one. And then I'm going to Lily. And with all of these Great Balls, I guess 2, I would hope that I get another Skiploom. I may just use this Oranguru and move it to the Lost Zone with Lost Blender, depending on what I get here. And there is a Skiploom, so that worked out. Okay, so I'm going to evolve this one. The only thing would be that if my opponent would move Tapu Lele GX back into the active and knock it out, they would get 2 prize cards. So now I have the Net Ball for another Grass Energy. I am going to retreat this. If I had Ace Roll, that would be great. So I'm going to retreat it for the Jumpluff. I could Lost Blend or something. Not yet, though. I'd like to get one more Pokemon into my hand. So I will be able to knock out the Zoroark GX. But this would be the opportune time for my opponent to use Bloodthirsty Eyes on Lycanroc GX and promote the Tapu Lele GX. They do not have enough energy over here to do any major damage when attacking yet. So I'm still in this one. My opponent is really thinking, they're taking their time on what to promote. You would think with 2 Zoroark GX, and they may be trying to Guzma something up because they promoted the Tapu Lele. And I really have no way of getting rid of that Tapu Lele GX or the damage on it. I have 3 Guzma in the deck. I've used 2 of them, but a majority of my Pokemon are GX of my opponents. Wow. Okay, this is my opportunity. I am going to put an energy on a Jumpluff. Then I'm going to rescue Stretcher 1 into my hand and send both of those to the Lost Zone. That would give me 10 there, and I would need 1 more in the Lost Zone to be able to knock out Zoroark GX. I think I may have the game here. I'm going to move 1 into my hand. Let's do the Natu. And then I'm going to Lost Blender the Oranguru and the Natu. There's a Marshadow. I do not have any open bench spots. How many Trumbeak have I put in here? I should be able to Great Ball for a Trumbeak, I would think. And there is a Trumbeak. So now I can knock out the Zoroark GX. So I think this is the game. They're going to get another Zoroark GX into their hand. I might as well Lily here. That way I have the potential to get a Guzma. And there is the final Guzma. So I have lots of options here, I think. Let's do it. Knock out the Tapu Lele, 240. Take 2 prize cards. And then even if my Tapu Lele GX is knocked out, my opponent will have 1 prize card remaining. And then I do have Guzma to be able to Guzma up whatever I'd like. So this is the game unless I get let loose with Marshadow or my opponent uses Judge. And even then I do have 2 Jumpluff ready to attack right here. So we will see here. And it looks like my opponent just doesn't have the amount of energy that they'd like. Only 1 double colorless in the discard. And maybe they prize some energy. My opponent has 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 cards in their hand. Plus 2 trade abilities. So you'd think they'd be able to rotate through some things. You'd think they'd have Lycanroc GX in their hand as well. I would have used that last turn. and they're just going to pass again and let me win the game. Should I continue adding Pokemon to the Lost Zone? I think so. And there's a Guzma. Let's see. I might as well just end it. I'll put them out of their misery and go 2-1 with this deck. There is the power of the Lost March deck. Surprisingly, I did win. My opponent was just stuck at the end of the game, not able to do anything, having to pass 2 turns. And when my attackers are set up in Lost March and they can do over 200 damage per turn when attacking, the game is pretty much over. So I can show the deck checklist again. And as always, if you have any suggestions for me on decks you would like me to battle with or decks that you would like me to build, please let me know in the comment section of this video. So that concludes this video. Thanks everyone for watching. As always, before you go, make sure to check out all the links in the description of this video, including links to my blog, Facebook, and Twitter pages. So thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.